The important part is that if you have struggled in the past with romantic relationships, maybe with your boss or coworkers or family members or friendships, or maybe you currently are, this video series is for you. And even if you just want to get better at all of these things, I've created a free video series just for you. So in these next series, we're going to be going over narcissistic type personality and how to deal with that. We're also going to be going over attachment styles, anxious attachment, avoidant attachment, loud, disorganized attachment. Some of you, that might be new. I know it was for me. So how to recognize a narcissist, how to recognize a disorganized attachment style. So if you are in a relationship and you're going, oh my God, is there something wrong with me? What am I doing wrong? Why do they seem to always think that there is something going wrong with me? Maybe it's because you're fucked. Sorry, just kidding. Maybe it's because, yeah, maybe you have something that's happening within you. However, no one should make you feel like there's something wrong with you all the time. No one should be trying to fix you all the time. Maybe unless they're your therapist or coach, you're hiring them for that. Anybody else in your life, you are not their project, and it likely actually has nothing to do with you at all. It's them, and they're projecting information onto you. Could be both as well. Point is, if you're leaving conversations going, oh, what did I do wrong this time? If you're constantly thinking, man, am I a good person? Like, does this person value me? Then more than likely there's something disturbing about this relationship. And in this video series, we're going to be diving into what's happening. What I have done is I've used my own personal experience and the experience of what I hear from my students and my clients to create what I am labeling as relational quotient. So your RQ, your relational intelligence. Now, as a society, we started off with your IQ, right? Your intelligence quotient, meaning how smart are you? So some lovely scientists developed a bunch of different tests to determine your IQ, aka your success in life. Then later on, we moved to EQ, your emotional quotient. So what is your emotional intelligence like? Now I believe society is moving into what, again, I am labeling as relational quotient. So your RQ. What is your communication intelligence? How are you able to communicate with others and receive communication and respect others' communication as well? Once we begin to understand this, we can understand others on a deeper level and bring more success, joy, and happiness into our lives. Now, a part of this video series is going to be me explaining what I have been going through with a person who has narcissistic type personality and what is sometimes called loud or sometimes just disorganized avoidant attachment style. So we're going to be talking about your anxious attachment style, your avoidant attachment style, which many of you have heard of, especially if you're in the personal growth and development field. If not, that's fine too. We're going to be discussing those in more detail. Now, the one that many have not really researched or studied or heard about, which was true for me as well, is what's sometimes labeled as loud disorganized, or sometimes it's just disorganized avoidant attachment style, which is actually a combination of both anxious and avoidant. And it kind of gives a personality of someone who is like 180 of what you would actually expect them to be in a loving, cherishing kind relationship. And why this is so vitally important to understand is because when you're in a situation, as an example, I was in a relationship where I was doing all of the textbook things to help a person feel comfortable, feel valued, feel heard, feel listened to. And everything that I was doing was not working. And I'm going, why? What is happening? And then through seeing multiple therapists, through couples therapy, through seeing different coaches, what I realized, and we'll delve more into this, but what I realized is that I was with a person who has the Disorganized Avoidant Attachment Style. And what happens is with people like that, when you try to do the typical things, it doesn't work because everything is reversed for them. It's like a 180. Top that off with narcissistic personality, and you get a combination that is interesting to play with and to work with. So understanding a person's communication style, person's personality style, how they perceive the world, and how you perceive the world and your communication is vitally important to be able to, well, not feel like you're in a really unhealthy situation. It's important to recognize the signs, and the earlier that you can, the earlier you're able to maybe either get yourself out of the situation or at least to be able to get help if you truly want to stay in that relationship with that particular person. All right, you guys ready? Plug in, let's go. If you've ever been in a relationship with a narcissist, whether that's romantic, maybe your boss, maybe a good friend, a family member, this video is for you. Also, it's a bit of a catch-up video too, so where have I been? And also, if you know anything about attachment styles, even if you don't, this is a good place to start. I'll be doing more videos on attachment styles as well. There's an attachment style that I was not familiar with, which is sometimes called a loud, disorganized, avoidant attachment style. Sometimes it's just disorganized, avoidant attachment style. There's a couple of different names for it. However, what this particular attachment style is, it's a combination of the anxious plus the avoidant in one, and it creates a personality almost the opposite of what most people experience, especially in a romantic relationship. So I'm going to be getting into all of that in this video, plus it has a lot to do with what's been going on with me. So this video is actually a very personal video. Now, if you've been following my channel, you'll know that I've recently had a ton of life changes in my life. So I moved to Hawaii, I got into a relationship, I got out of a relationship, and I quit my job. So yeah, there was a lot of different things, basically like the trifecta, 3 of the top most stressful things. The only other thing that could have happened to me is someone could have passed away, which a death of a relationship is sometimes another form of loss. Plus, I also lost where I was living too. So major top things in life, a move I did twice in a few months, and a loss of a relationship, and a loss of a job. So let's dive in and have fun. Aloha, I'm Sabrina with Begin Being, if this is your first time tuning in. I'd like to start off with sharing my story, mostly because it's not really my story. If you clicked on this, it's probably your story too. Or perhaps it's a story of a loved one who you think they might be going through this, and so you clicked on this video to see, ooh, I want to know more information about this. What happened is I was in a situation where I totally got love bombed. Last March, I met a man who in the island of Hawaii, I do a lot of personal growth and development trainings here. So every 6 months, I've been coming here since 2019, every 6 months to do different retreats. So I've been doing that for, well, years now. And this past March, I met a gentleman who he claimed he was all of these things. So, okay, it was on a dating app. Yes, I know, red flags galore, I get it. However, some of my closest friends have actually met wonderful people on dating apps. And I kept getting people telling me, you know, Sabrina, you travel so much for work, doing your trainings all over the country. People simply don't know, where you are, who you are, like where you're at. So it's hard for you to make connections with people. So maybe get online, like put yourself out there. I'm like, okay, I'll try this out. So the different cities I started at the beginning of the year. In the different cities I would go to, I would, talk to people and see what they're about. Well, I was in Hawaii for about a month or so. And so talking to this person that I met, and one of the things, my account was so basic, like it hardly had anything on there because I'm like, let's talk. right? One of the things that I was very clear about is that I was interested in someone to like do retreats with me. So I wanted a partner where we can kind of be business partners, we can share in what we do. And I loved my job at the time. And so I wanted the freedom to be able to continue to travel. And then when I was at my home base, do my own retreats as well. So I met this guy. And he responded to, I said something like, teach with me or something like that, right? So he responded, tell me more. And I'm like, ooh, he responded to the one thing that, not like, oh, nice picture, right? Like, okay, I mean, come on, right? Of course, we're gonna put our best pictures on there. Anyway, guys, even girls, please don't respond with, ooh, you're hot or nice picture. Like, it's a dating app, of course you're gonna put those anyway. So he responded to the thing that I'm like, aha, okay, that's interesting, right? Well, anyway, we chatted for like pretty much the whole time I was here. Towards the end of the event, he was like, let's meet up. In the meantime, I'm completely exhausted because I've been, working this whole time. So we do meet. I almost stand him up, but I'm like, no, let's meet this person. So I meet him and he's like, hey, I want to see you again before you leave. And I pretty much had like the day and, half a day left, right? So I'm like, okay. So I go to his house and by the way, I almost stood him up a second time because like I said, I was so tired. But I went to his house and some of the most amazing experiences happened. So for one, as you probably know by watching the channel, or if you're new, here it is. I work with energy, so I'm very attuned to energy. And when I got to his house, there's like an hour drive to get there from where I was. And during that drive, he was just talking, which, in some ways that should have been a red flag, right? But I was so tired that I was just like, okay, just let him talk. It's fine. So he spent like the entire hour talking. And I was thinking in my mind, I'm like, oh my God, how do I tell this guy I really just want to take a nap right now? So we get to his house and he's like, hey, do you want a tour? And I'm like, let me use the restroom first. So he shows me the restroom. I'm in the restroom. I'm doing my business. And I'm going, okay, how do I just tell him, like, I just want to take a nap? Like, I know we don't have much time together. And can I please just go to sleep? Well, as I'm thinking this, I'm doing my business, and I'm thinking this, all of a sudden this huge burst of energy comes in. And I'm like, whoa, what is this? I felt like I was high, but like a really good, fantastic high, right? Like super energetic high. And so I'm like, oh, where's all of this energy coming from? I could like go running right now. And so I'm super just pumped, right? So I go back out and I think I have some pictures. Maybe I'll try and put some pictures in here. So I go back out and the house is like an open floor plan. So there's this TV like area over here. There's like a kitchen here, and then another sitting area over here, and then like the dining area over here. And then it looks out on like to this deck, and then it looks out onto the ocean. Well, the bathroom's over here. So I come and I stand. I'm kind of standing like kind of in the center of the house, and I'm just staring off at nothing. He probably thinks I'm staring at the ocean or something, right? But I'm literally just kind of staring at nothing. And he's like looking at me, and all of a sudden I'm just frozen. Like I cannot move. And he's like talking to me. I think maybe he's asking me, am I okay? Or I don't know, he's saying something. And in my mind, I'm going like, Sabrina, like talk. You've shown him your YouTube channel, so he knows, like, compared to like some people, you're out there, right? Or, some people might have that opinion. And so I'm thinking, okay, maybe he'll understand. And at the same time, I'm like, okay, just say something. And so like moments are passing, right? So finally my brain kicks in and it says something. But here's the thing. The first words out of my mouth were, why is it rotating backwards? And I'm like, no, that is not the something. I wanted you to say something normal, right? In my mind, I'm like, that is not normal. You've already been just standing there like a mute, I don't know, crazy person. And he's like, what? And I'm like, fuck. Okay. And so I'm like, the rotation, it's rotating counterclockwise. Why is it rotating counterclockwise? And he's like, oh, there's a vortex in the bay. So I normally spend a lot of my time on the north side of the island, so I really have not experienced Kealakekua Bay. And that's where we were. Well, it turns out there's this whole magical thing about this particular bay, and there's this vortex that comes off of it that spins counterclockwise. There's a whole bunch of other things to the bay too. That's stuff in another video though. So my nervous system's like coming back online, I'm checking back in, and I'm thinking, okay, we can be normal, right? And so I'm like, okay, I want to do the tour now. And I'm like, yes, normal. But then the very next thing comes out of my mind, instead of, saying, show me around or whatever it is, right? I'm like, but I have to go that way. I'm like, oh God, okay. So I'm basically giving myself the tour right now. All right, whatever. So I walk out the deck towards the ocean. He's still probably thinking like I'm looking at this view or whatever. So in the meantime, it's begun to sprinkle. So I go out, we're on the deck and we're next to this railing and it's like raining on us. And he's like, hey, why don't we go over here? And so on this side, it's like an L shape. So we were in this part and then there's two other rooms that come off like this, like an L, and then there's a deck. So he's like, let's go over here because where the bedroom is, there's an awning. And so you can still be out on the deck, but you're not getting rained on. And so I'm like, okay. So we walk over there. And again, he probably still thinks I'm just trying to stare at the ocean. So he moved us out of the rain. No, my system's still going crazy. And so I'm like, nope, I can't stand here. And I immediately walk us back out on the deck where it's raining. But this time I'm able to go over to where the other L part is coming out in the other room, and it has an awning too. And I'm like, I can stand here. So I stand there and I'm literally just standing there. And he's like, okay, so I'm gonna go get your luggage. And I'm like, okay, thank God, right? So I'm standing there and he's left. And then my body decides the only thing that it can do is to rotate. And so it just slowly rotates. Now keep in mind there's a wall right here because there's this other room. And so I'm rotating and I get around. And so now I'm facing a wall. And I'm like, please don't come back right now. Please do not come back right now. And then I'm like, okay, good. We're moving back, right? So we're moving and I get all the way around and then it's like, okay, squat down. Now, I'm not gonna do that because you probably won't be able to see me anymore, but I squat down. And right in front of me, let's see, this big or so. Yeah, you can still see that. Okay, perfect. So right in front of me is what's called a kane stone. So there are particular stones that Hawaiians would put their mana in, their energy in. So the Hawaiian kahunas, like shamans, they would transfer energy into certain stones for different purposes and stuff like that. I won't go into it in detail, but it's right there. Now, the thing about the kane stones is that sometimes you have to be a little careful because you don't exactly know what mana, what energy went in there. And the ancient kahunas, they would play with what people now might call like dark energies and light energies. There's different ways of looking at this. Energy is just energy. However, some people in like the spiritual or esoteric communities have put a label. Like some people would say like voodoo, for example, is like a dark energy of practicing black magic or whatever that is. Other people say, oh, no, that's not true at all. There's no such thing as black magic or dark energy. Voodoo is not that. It's just a different form of energy. Now, there are certain types of energetic practices that do require stuff like sacrifices. That's why a lot of the ancient cultures made sacrifices, some even human, mostly animals though. And again, that's just a part of their culture, how they worked with the energies. Oftentimes, no matter what, when you're working with energy, there is or can be some sort of sacrifice. It's not necessarily blood or killing. You can also, there are some where you even just cut yourself, right? So it's not necessarily that you're killing anything, but you're just giving it blood. The blood really is just an exchange of energetic DNA. It's like you're exchanging your DNA and your energy with it. So again, different people have different, they sit in their different camps, right? I'm not here to say one way or another is good or bad. No judgment. This is just simply, sometimes you have to be careful with these stones because you don't know what kind of energy is in it. So, and if you really want to know how, if you want to know me, this is it, right? So if you are new to this channel and you don't believe in any energetic type stuff, you can skip this part because I'm telling this story for a very very specific reason. So you can fast forward through this if this is not your cup of tea to get to the narcissist or to the disorganized attachment avoidant style if this is not for you. Now, however, like I said, I'm describing this because this is what's happening. This is what's happening in my life, and I'm to a point where I'm like total, what's that called? Like unveiling or pulling back the curtain, right? Wizard of Oz, pulling back the curtain of every single little part of my life, and completely, I've been doing other practices and stuff where I'm documenting everything that's been going on with me. So this is part of that documentation. The other part is, even if this doesn't come forward to you with energy like it did for me, there's other forms of love bombing. And he was very able to recognize that I feel energy, that I experience energy, and that's the medium he used to be able to love bomb me. For you, that might not be your experience at all. Maybe it's gifts. Maybe the person buys you a lot of gifts. Maybe they do a lot of favors for you. There's all different kinds of ways to do it. So back to this stone. So it wants to talk to me, okay? And I'm like, okay, sure, let's go, let's play. So we have this conversation. Yes, I'm talking to a stone. And it tells me all this information, and we form a connection and bond. And I even touch the stone, which again, if you're coming to the Hawaiian Islands and a stone is calling to you, maybe don't touch it unless you are there with a kumu or kahuna or someone who is aware of the energies, because certain things can happen. I'll just leave it at that. Anyway, call 1-800-KUMU. Okay, that's not a number. So he comes back when I'm talking to the stone, and I happen to know that he had asked to kumu hula, not kumu huna or ho'omana, which is the study of energy, but a kumu hula, which sometimes those particular kumus also know about energy, sometimes they don't. But he invited this particular kumu over to do like a blessing of the property. And so I asked him, I said, well, does kumu know about this stone? And he's like, yeah, I'm not sure. And I'm like, okay, so do you know about this stone? He's like, no. I'm like, okay, it's a Kane stone. And I kind of explained, what was happening and everything. And that was why I had to walk that particular direction. It's because the stone was calling to me. So I'm like, okay, I'm ready for the regular tour now. And everything was normal from then on. Now, the next day, so this particular property, he bought it and he had to make a bunch of changes to it. And he used to be a professional photographer. So at night, he showed me the whole slideshow of the progression of the property. And the next day, he took me on a tour, and a lot of the other buildings he uses as rentals. So some of the his rental people were not there. So he takes me and shows me some of the houses, and one of these houses is a 3-bedroom house. And we're in there, and we go to one of the bedrooms, and I was like, ooh, the energy is not good in this house. Have you ever walked into a house or a room or something, and you're like, okay, I feel like they're about to make the next like murder mystery movie here, or I feel like I'm about to be in a horror movie, I need to leave. That it's one of those rooms, right? And so I walk in there and I'm like, okay, something's not happy here. And I ask him, so I'm like, so I don't know if you know or if you want me to tell you or do something about it, but just so you know, there's some not good energy in this room. And he's like, oh, and now he had told me that he works with energy and, you know, stuff like that. And he's like, oh, well, you know, since I've been on this property so long, I think I've stopped like feeling some things. And I'm like, should have been a red flag, right? However, that can happen. It can happen to where you're in an environment so much you just get used to the energy, right? Or you're used to kind of ignoring it or blocking it or whatever it might be. So I'm like, well, do you want me to clear it? He's like, okay. And so I do a bunch of clearing, but there's something that's not releasing, and it's underneath us. Now, the area where we're at, it's on a mountain. So a lot of things, like you have the front door or maybe the back door, and it's level with the ground, but then the rest of it goes downhill, and then the rest of the house is like on stilts. So I thought maybe, unless there's like boards or stone or something covering that up, I thought maybe you could see underneath. And so I asked him, like, hey, can you see underneath the house? And he's like, yeah. I'm like, okay, let's go look, because there's something there. Well, so the room is on a corner of the house. So we walk out the front door, and then I'm walking on the outside over here, and there's some, like, I'm barefoot, by the way, and there's some mulch, and then I kind of get to this grassy part, but instead of having to walk around and look under the house, once I get to the grass, I'm like, it's the ground. And so I'm standing there, and I'm connecting with the ground, and I'm like, it's the Aina, the land, like the earth. And so I'm pacing back and forth, like it's big. It's like 4-5 feet, somewhere in there, right? Not the best at measurements. So I'm like, okay, there's something going on. And so I asked him, I'm like, did something happen to the ground here? And he said, yeah, actually we had to dig a trench for a gas line, and to go to the house. And I'm like, okay. So now I'm looking for, this is me in construction, okay? So I'm looking for, a pipe, right? Like a pipe. So I'm looking for this tiny inch like spot, and I'm walking, and I'm like, I can't find it. And so I'm like, where is it? And so I ask him, and he's like, well, can you see the propane tank up at the top? And I'm like, no. So I had to walk a little bit further up the hill, and I saw it, and I'm going down, and I'm like, okay, I'm in the right spot. And I said, well, how big was the trench? And he's like, well, when you're digging, you gotta dig a big space. You don't dig just this much. And I'm like, oh yeah, the machines, they're bigger. Okay, that makes sense, whatever. Okay, so the place where I was feeling made sense. And so I connect into the ground, because it goes on a slant. I I'll just do it this way. I bend down, but I don't have to go like on all fours, because it's a slant. So I'm just kind of touching my hands to the ground. And so we're communicating, and it's telling me these different things. It's telling me that like there was an injury, like it didn't feel good, it didn't approve, no one asked it was uncomfortable, it tried to be like, don't do this, that kind of thing. So basically I had a conversation with it, let it know why it happened. And at the time, me and the guy, we were talking about doing retreats there. And the reason why he was showing me all of the rooms of the property is because he's like, here's the different spaces where we can put people to do our retreats. And so I'm telling the land, it had to happen because we're going to bring people in to be able to help heal them. And he showed me this like garden area. We're gonna make a garden and have food and, you know, really tend to you and have little walking areas. And I was telling it all of these different things that it was going to have mana come back to it and be able to, and be appreciated. So I'm telling it this stuff, right? And it's like, oh, okay, so you're staying. And I was like, well, no, my plane leaves tonight. And Lane's like, no, you're staying. I'm like, no, I have to get on a plane. I had about a week home, and then I was gonna fly to another city, Houston. And so I'm like, okay, I'm going. I'll be back in 6 months though. I will see you in 6 months. And it's like, no, you're staying. Anyway, got on a plane and left. Crazy thing happened. The training that I was supposed to go to in Houston, we were supposed to do live plus virtual, and I headed up the virtual team. Well, we decided to cancel the virtual part of it and only do live. So then there was no reason for me to go to Houston. Dun, dun, dun. So I'm like, okay, I might as well fly back to Hawaii. So I flew back because he didn't want me to leave either. He wanted me to stay and blah, 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 and get to know each other. So I'm like, hey, well, I don't have this event anymore, so I can fly back. So I flew back, and I was there in Hawaii. Well, while that was happening, back home in Texas, or my old home, a tree fell on my house. Yes, there's a huge storm, and a tree, the neighbor's tree, fell on my house. Long story short, when I got back, there was mold damage, multiple walls and ceiling were gonna have to be taken out. And so I'm like, I'm gonna move. So no matter what, I had to move. And the dude, you know, his name is Jeff. Full name is Jeffrey. So I now call him Jeff Free. Isn't it cute? I know. Anyway, so Jeffrey, he was like, why don't you move here? And I'm like, no, I don't really know you. But the land, it's like, ha ha ha, it's all dancing, doing happy dance. Like I told you, you didn't listen. But here's the thing, you thought you were gonna go home to do the training. Guess what, it got canceled. Now boom, your tree fell in your house, ha ha ha, you're moving here. Okie dokie, I guess I'm moving. So, I guess maybe the land love bombed me too. I don't know. No, totally kidding. Seriously though, yes, so the plan was I was going to move there, and when I was home, we were going to do retreats together, and then I was going to travel doing my neuro-linguistic programming training, and everything was magical and wonderful. And I'm like, oh my goodness, I met this person who is all of these things that I was saying that I wanted, that I desired, that I was choosing. So I chose to move and did everything super fast. So I moved. This was March. Now it's July. My birthday is July 23rd. So I flew back, I think on the 20th or 21st or something, or yeah, I don't know, something like that. A couple days before my birthday. And as soon as I got here, things were just different. It was like he was completely disconnected. Now what he was doing is he had spent like over a year taking someone else's system called Body Talk and redoing like their chart and everything, and then calling it Evolve Care. And he was wanting to start teaching that. And so he's been spending like over a year building slides. He has more slides than anyone I've ever seen, by the way. And this goes in with this story. It's very important because he wanted everything just so. Everything had to be just, so he would literally spend time just barely moving something, just barely changing something. He would make like 20 slides and then delete them all. Now, I understand that's a part of some people's creative process, and there's nothing at all wrong with that. If that's what he needs to do to be able to create something, then by all means, go ahead and do it. Where it kind of becomes maybe like a yellow flag is when he's that particular and meticulous about these certain things that can sometimes carry into all areas of your life or their life. And sometimes that is also what you do with people as well, especially if you have like a lower relational IQ. Now, when I say relational IQ, I'm going to be making more videos about this because I believe it's the next part of humanity's evolution. So we used to have IQ, which is intelligence quotient. So that was the first kind of measurement thing that we came up with. And then later everybody started talking about emotional quotient, EQ, right? What is your emotional intelligence? I believe that we're moving into something that I'm labeling relational quotient, RQ. So your relational intelligence. How do you fall on the spectrum of being able to communicate to other people? Now, part of that is, what is your kindness level? So what I've begun to notice is that some people are naturally kind. It's like intuitive. And other people, they actually have to almost go out of their way to be kind, or they have to stop and think about being kind, or the moments that they're kind is because they're actually wanting something, or they're kind because they want to look good, right? They want to like impress, they want to sway someone or put magic on something, right? Little sprinkles. Not the kind of magic that I like having fun with, but like the spell of the, love me, look at me, or accept me. Please accept me. I'm going to be kind to you so that you'll accept me, so that I'll have friends. Not because it's just a part of who they are or who they're choosing to be. Now, what I found out is for him, he seems to have a very low relational quotient, a very low relational intelligence. And I'll be getting more into that, maybe in another video, possibly even into this video as well. Whenever you get stuck in a situation, like in a relationship or having to deal with other people, it's like you don't quite know how to respond or how to react, or what is an appropriate response or reaction. Some people, obviously, they have reactions that aren't so positive, right? So sometimes you're getting in a fight, and sometimes a person like really overreacts to the situation. Like you might have, done something super simple. Like maybe you lost the car keys, right? They're not lost, you just can't find them in that moment. And so your partner, she's like, we're gonna be late. Why do you always have to lose the keys? Why can't you just put them in a particular place? Blah, blah, blah. And like totally bursts at you and tears you down. That is like a negative or not so positive reaction to a situation. So that person in that moment, and not necessarily they have a continuous low relational IQ or relational intelligence, it's not that they necessarily have a low RQ in that moment. Permanently, or not permanently, but overall, it's their RQ might be down in that moment simply because maybe they're frustrated or they're experiencing some sort of other emotion where it explodes on them versus them being able to just be calm. And if you're yelling at someone, why can't you find the keys? Is that going to help them find the keys? Absolutely not. It's just going to stress them out more, and then their nervous system is going to be activated in a way that their sympathetic nervous system, their stress response is now activated, and so now it's actually going to make it harder for them to find the keys. Overall, though, there are certain people who their RQ is simply like at a lower base. There's nothing wrong with that, by the way. I want to make sure that we are very, very clear on this. There's nothing wrong with that. It's simply where they're at. So with the emotional intelligence coming out, a lot of people thought, oh, I have a low EQ. I must be a bad person, right? Because when IQ came out, if you scored high in intelligence, everybody's like, ooh, you're amazing, right? Like you're going to be successful in life. And so people who had a low IQ, they're like, oh man, well, guess I'm just going to work in fast food or something, you know? But then later we find out, okay, sometimes people with really high IQ have very low EQ. Because sometimes they're so intelligent, they're just thinking super fast and they're not really in their emotions. They're just in their logical state of mind and not really in touch with themselves or with others. So there's balances to everything. So if I'm going to sit here and say anyone has what might be considered a low RQ, guess what? Intelligence? There's some debate on whether or not you can improve your IQ scores. I believe you can. For RQ though, you can absolutely improve your scores. 100% you can improve your scores because a lot of it has to do with just slowing down and paying attention to your surroundings and to other people. But a lot of us have not been taught how to pay attention to other people, or if we have, sometimes it's like in a negative way, as in, ooh, watch out, people are out to get you, people are horrible, the world is, awful, whatever your parents sometimes teach you about the world and about, scary things. Don't talk to strangers, right? Don't interact with strangers. Well, that can sometimes lower your RQ because if you're not interacting with people, then how are you going to know what to do in situations where you have to interact with people, right? I'm going to pause this video here because this is a lot of info. So I'm going to break this up into a 4-part video series going deeper into all of these topics that we discuss, and these stories get more intense. So we're going to continue on these topics, plus we're going to bring in the topic of being controlled, of being with someone who's being controlling, and how during this process, I stopped being me. So go ahead, check the link below. The next video will be out in a few days. It might already be in the description, so check that link. Maybe you can just binge watch the entire series. All right, thanks for watching, and as always, choose love in all that you do. Mahalo. I don't know, I'm doing a horrible thing at this. Okay, here's the house. No, here's the ground. Here's the ground. Here. Let's start over. My bra strap is falling. Just a second. Women problems. Okay. As if this video is not goofy enough. All right. Oh, it's already been 24 minutes. This is why my videos are so long. I get too distracted.